Naoya Inoue's story inside the boxing ring has always carried an aura of inevitability. He is called the monster for good reason, and every fighter who has dared to provoke or disrespect him has eventually learned the true meaning of those words. What makes his rise even more fascinating is that many of his opponents seem to underestimate him simply because he was a Japanese fighter, as though his achievements on his home soil somehow diminished the enormity of his skill. They dismissed him, mocked him, or tried to intimidate him, and one after another, they paid a heavy price for their misjudgment. From his early days in Japan, Inoue crushed opposition with a mix of precision, power, and ferocity that belied his calm demeanor outside the ring. But when he made his American television debut, the disrespect he faced reached a new level. His opponent that night was the American Anthony Nieves, a man who believed that Inoue was nothing more than an overrated hype job who had only looked good because he fought in his homeland. Nieves saw himself as the real test, convinced that when the Japanese fighter was taken out of his comfort zone, his so-called monster persona would be exposed. Nieves declared that everything had always gone Inoue's way in Japan, and now it was time to see if he could handle a challenge on foreign soil. When the bell rang, Inoue immediately showed why such arrogance was misplaced. He stalked his opponent with a calm menace, pumping out jabs that carried an authority few in the sport could replicate. Observers compared his jab to that of Gennady Golovkin, another fighter whose simple left hand carried devastating weight. The American crowd quickly realized they were witnessing something special as Inoue combined skill with cold efficiency. Nieves tried to counterattack with body shots and right hands, but each exchange only highlighted the disparity in skill. By the second round, the tide had already turned violently. Inoue began delivering damaging hooks and crosses that left Nieves struggling to maintain his composure. Every punch carried not only weight but also purpose, forcing the Cleveland native onto the ropes. Inoue's combinations mixed bodywork with headshots, and by the third round, the Japanese star was in complete control, firing off brutal uppercuts and hooks while barely being touched in return. The humiliation continued until the fifth, when a crushing left hook to the body folded Nieves in half. The American fell to the canvas, grimacing in pain, suddenly aware that all his pre-fight bravado had brought him here, to a place of helplessness against a fighter whose precision body shots were world-famous. Though Nieves bravely rose, he had little left to give. Inoue poured on more punishment, targeting the body relentlessly. By the sixth round, Nieves' corner had seen enough and mercifully ended the fight. The message was clear: disrespecting the monster only leads to destruction. From there, Inoue's legend continued to grow. Moving up to bantamweight, he faced the British champion Jamie McDonnell. McDonnell carried himself with the same dismissive attitude as Nieves, mocking Inoue's Japanese name and joking that he could not even pronounce it correctly. He referred to him dismissively as Inoue, as though he were nothing more than an obscure challenger undeserving of respect. But Inoue was not concerned with words. He preferred to deliver his message in the ring. The fight began with McDonnell trying to use his height and reach advantage, pumping out long jabs to keep the smaller man at bay. But Inoue was undeterred. Within minutes, he slipped inside McDonnell's range and landed thunderous shots. A left hand upstairs left the British fighter visibly shaken, his legs betraying him. The pace and intensity of Inoue's attack overwhelmed McDonnell, and by the end of the opening round, the fight was essentially over. Another barrage of hooks and body shots drove McDonnell against the ropes, where he collapsed under the relentless pressure. The referee had no choice but to stop the fight. McDonnell's dismissive laughter about Inoue's name was silenced permanently, replaced by respect for the destructive force he had faced. Yet the disrespect did not stop there. In the World Boxing Super Series, Inoue faced Emmanuel Rodriguez, a Puerto Rican fighter with an undefeated record and a reputation for an unbreakable chin. Rodriguez and his team were openly antagonistic, with his trainer even shoving Inoue's father, Shingo, during a public workout. The move was not just an insult to Inoue's family, but also a provocation that revealed their belief that they had found the key to exposing him. Inoue, however, remained composed, folding his arms and promising vengeance in silence. When fight night arrived, the air was thick with tension. Rodriguez began aggressively, throwing combinations and pressing forward, hoping to test the Japanese champion early. But Inoue had studied him carefully and was ready to strike back, and the second round, Inoue landed a perfect left hook to the jaw, sending Rodriguez crashing to the canvas for the first time in his career. The shock on Rodriguez's face revealed the dawning realization that he was in over his head. When he rose, Inoue went to work on the body, ripping hooks to the liver with surgical precision. Rodriguez winced in agony, his pride stripped away by the kind of punishment that few fighters could withstand. Within minutes, he was stopped, suffering a brutal second-round knockout that ended his undefeated run. Inoue had not only avenged his father's disrespect, but also added another belt to his growing collection. One of Inoue's most memorable rivalries came against the Filipino legend Nonito Donaire. Their first fight was an instant classic, with both men inflicting tremendous punishment on each other. Inoue broke his nose and orbital bone during the contest, but refused to quit, eventually outlasting Donaire in a battle that was later hailed as one of the best fights of the decade. 3 years later, the two met again, and this time Inoue was determined to finish what he had started. In the rematch, he left no doubt, dismantling Donaire with ruthless efficiency. It was a clear sign that Inoue had grown even more dangerous with experience, his skill set sharpened to terrifying levels. By 2023, Inoue's reputation had spread worldwide, and he was finally given the opportunity to test himself against another elite American fighter, Stephen Fulton. Fulton was a slick, undefeated champion known for his speed, technical ability, and defensive prowess. In the lead-up, Fulton was dismissive of Inoue's power, claiming that hype and knockout strength were not enough to beat someone as smart and adaptable as him. At the face-offs, Fulton stared coldly into Inoue's eyes, brimming with confidence. But when the bell rang, reality set in quickly. Inoue's hand speed, precision, and relentless pressure proved too much. Fulton tried to box from range, but Inoue's jab and counters repeatedly broke through. As the rounds progressed, Inoue gained momentum, hurting Fulton with crushing body shots and sharp combinations. Eventually, a clean right hand and follow-up flurry ended the contest, leaving Fulton beaten and humbled. Inoue had improved his record to 26-0, silencing another doubter in emphatic fashion. Then came one of the most emotional fights of his career, when he returned to Japan to fight Luis Nery at the Tokyo Dome. Nery was despised by Japanese fans after failing drug tests and missing weight in his controversial victories over Shinsuke Yamanaka, a national boxing hero. The atmosphere inside the arena was electric, with a crowd desperate to see their champion deliver justice. Shockingly, in the opening round, Nery landed a massive left hook that sent Inoue to the canvas for the first time in his career. The crowd gasped in horror as their hero struggled to his feet. But instead of panicking, Inoue calmly composed himself, surviving the round and preparing for vengeance. In the second, he returned the favor by flooring Nery with his own brutal combinations. By the third, Inoue was fully unleashed. He punished Nery with savage uppercuts and right hands, culminating in a knockout that brought the Tokyo Dome to its feet in ecstatic celebration. The roar of the Japanese fans echoed the sense that their champion had not only defended his titles but also their national pride. Most recently, in January 2025, Inoue faced the Korean challenger Ye Jun Kim. Kim had stepped in as a late replacement and boldly claimed he would push the monster to his limits. Inside the ring, Kim even beckoned Inoue forward, daring him to engage. It was a fatal mistake. Inoue smashed him with piercing jabs and straight rights to the body, then moved upstairs with devastating precision. A lightning-fast right hand nearly sent Kim flying out of the ring, the impact leaving no doubt that the contest was over. Kim had asked for a war but found himself utterly unprepared for the savagery that followed. Fight after fight, Naoya Inoue has demonstrated why he is considered perhaps the most complete fighter of his generation. His opponents have mocked him, doubted him, and disrespected his name, his heritage, or his abilities, but every time the result has been the same: a brutal lesson delivered in the ring. What makes him stand out even more is his humility outside the ropes. While his foes rely on trash talk, Inoue lets his fists do the speaking. He remains composed, respectful, and focused, embodying the discipline and spirit of a true champion. The journey of Naoya Inoue is not just the story of a fighter winning titles and knocking out opponents. It is the story of a man who repeatedly turns disrespect into motivation, transforming arrogance from others into fuel for his relentless rise. Each time someone has underestimated him, they have paid with their pride, their records, and often their health. His nickname, the Monster, is no exaggeration. It is a fitting title for a fighter who blends raw power with precise technique, capable of dismantling even the most confident challengers. As his career continues, one lesson remains constant: to disrespect Naoya Inoue is to sign your own defeat. The Monster is not just a champion. He is a force of nature in boxing, one who thrives on turning doubt into devastation. For every man who thought him overrated or untested, the truth came crashing down inside the ring, delivered by fists that speak louder than any words ever could.